A rising tide lifts all boats. By dimming your light, by playing small, all you're doing is you're teaching other people to do the same.
You should be the spokeswoman for the Powerhouse Alliance. We write it down, bitches. She's the PR rebel who only gets paid when you get headlines. No retainer, no vanity dashboards, just results or nothing.
I sat across from my husband and he said, "Why are you working so hard?" And I said to him, "I'm working so hard so that one day I can stop working." And he looked at me and he said, "What about living? What about that part?"
Jody is always the woman behind everyone else's spotlight. Always the PR bridesmaid, never the podcast guest. Until now.
I don't want to win against any other PR agency. I want my clients to win.
Where did your love of storytelling got ignited? What good is building a business that has the power to change lives if nobody knows about it? So today we are sharing the exact do's and don'ts to get your story featured.
You're never going to be able to be 100% polished, but when you know who you are, you know your story, that's the most powerful way you can show up.
Jody, welcome. Here we are. It has been a journey to get here. And what I mean by that is you are the woman who always tells other people's stories. So when we got on a call and I was like...
I thought you wanted recommendations. Who do you want to put on the podcast? Not me. Please, not me.
I'm so happy to have you here because not only is your story remarkable, I think so many of us can learn so much about the art of storytelling and how to do it in a way that is aligned and ethical and you're not a dick. Sorry. And as an ex-PR agency owner, I feel I can say that. But let's start with, take me back about 5 years ago, because now everyone sees, you know, the 50% growth, the clients that everyone has heard of. And I don't think that was always the case.
No, it wasn't. So 5-6 years ago, I was bathing my kids in a bucket in a 1-bedroom Airbnb. Our build had gone catastrophically wrong. We were paying a full mortgage. We had nowhere to live because it was COVID. Builders couldn't go in and finish. So that's where we found ourselves. I was, kids were sleeping in a stretcher next to my bed, and I was managing comms for Vodafone, nationally, trying to encourage everyone, trying to keep everyone on board. And my office is 2 meters from the toilet. That's what my view is. And I had this little board behind me, this little whiteboard, and every day I tried to write a fresh quote up there. But 10 to 1, it would be the only way over is through. And I think I left that one up for a couple of weeks during COVID.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of, I spent, mind you, 2 weeks in MIQ with my 2 children. And now I understand why those hotel windows don't open. And I would still have my clients and client calls, because I also work as a coach, so I'd have client calls, but there was no privacy.
No.
So I would let the kids watch TV because we were locked in this cage anyway, and then I'd go into the bathroom, close this screen door because that gives the illusion of privacy. I would put down the lid of the toilet, put my laptop on the toilet.
I know it.
And sit on the floor and sit cross-legged on the floor doing my work. And people had no idea because you moved here from South Africa.
Yeah. You do what you have to do, right?
Yeah, it's the immigrant story.
We spent 2 years in an Airbnb situation, and at one stage I remember looking at my husband saying, "It can't get any worse. What's going to happen next? Is the roof going to fall on our head?" And I'm not kidding you.
Why did you say that?
One Sunday we got home and the water cylinder upstairs had burst, and the floor of the Airbnb, the roof of the Airbnb fell down, and it was dirt, it was spiders, and we just looked at each other and we laughed and we said, you know what, the roof can fall in. And it does. That's life.
Yeah, and you know what, the beauty in that, you might have to dig a little deeper to find it, is that you're like, it can't get any worse. What's going to happen? The roof's gonna fall in, and then it did. And you were fine.
I'm fine. And we lived out of suitcases for 2 years. And I realized what I don't need in life.
Oh, that is
And
such a
home
powerful
is not the four walls, it's who you're with. That's what I realized.
yeah.
I could pack it all up tomorrow, you know?
Yeah.
And
Isn't that amazing?
as long as I take my people with me, I'm okay.
Yeah, no, I'll just give me some notice. I'll be there. But yeah, that is so important because also I can imagine, we spoke about this briefly, being both, immigrants to this country,
Yes.
loving it.
What is a foreign accent? It's a sign of courage.
I love that.
I love that.
I love that. That's really beautiful. That's it's true though, because you think I moved here specifically thinking, it's an English speaking country, because I did PR at the time, so I was like, it's kind of important that I speak the language. And looks like a duck, walks like a duck. It's not a duck. It's very different in so many micro and macro ways that I think it took me 3 years to not feel like everything, like little
It's like
things.
drilling down roots into concrete sometimes. You get down and you get planted, but let me tell you, the ground is sometimes hard, right?
That is a
And you gotta
beautiful
dig
analogy.
deep and not stop when
Yeah.
the ground is hard. But
Exactly.
keep going.
Put those kids in a bucket, because coming from South Africa, the conversion with the rand, I think
It was crazy, absolutely crazy. We always came here with the idea that we'll do whatever it takes. And we have, but it hasn't always been easy.
Yeah. Tell me about a moment where you almost were like, ready to give up. Should we go back? Should we go somewhere else?
There's been several, but it's probably at the end of COVID. I'd managed, as 2IC, I'd managed COVID comms, and it was like the second or third restructure that we'd had. And this was my team they were getting rid of. And they wanted me to manage the restructure and then immediately apply for the next job that they saw me going into. And I remember my manager at the time, incredible woman, she said, take 2 days off. And I said, this is not the right time to be taking 2 days off. I need to go for the next job. And I went home and I sat on the couch across from my husband, and he said, why are you working so hard? And I said to him, I'm working so hard so that one day I can stop working. And he looked at me and he said, but what about living? What about that part? And by the Monday, I literally went back and I said, please take my name out of the job pool. I was moving into the house finally. I'm an immigrant. I don't have a wide network. I don't have a support network. People back home, as an immigrant, they're relying on you. You don't come here and start again. And I told them, take my name out, and I told them what I was going to do. And the head of HR said, it doesn't make any sense, but I love it.
Oh, I love that so much. This is a quote I live by, and it kind of feels like that same energy, and it's by the famous Pippi Longstocking.
Yes, love it.
I love Pippi. And she said, well, I mean, I've never done it before, so I'm pretty sure I'll be great at it.
Every day you get to choose, do I listen to fear or do I listen to hope? And the one you give the microphone to and the one that you make choices by, that determines the future. And I was scared.
Yeah.
I was scared.
I think that's the biggest thing. It's not about not being afraid. It's about, talking cliches.
Our comfort zone is probably the most dangerous place we can live. I could have gone into the next job and the next job and the next job, but it would have killed me inside.
Yeah.
You got to find that thing that makes you light up, that makes you love Monday. If you're not loving Monday, there's something wrong and you need to fix it.
I actually think that if you are doing what you love, Monday doesn't mean anything anymore.
No.
Like, it doesn't matter. Like, work and life, the whole concept of work-life balance, beyond being bullshit, it implies that there's a separation.
Yeah.
And that's, what your husband said, what about living? And you can be living the fullest life and create, which is what work gets to be.
Yeah, that's right. And when we work for someone, I think we're seeking validation. We're looking to someone to say you're doing well. But when you throw away that box, you realize, what's left? So much of my identity is wrapped up in job, you know, and when you get rid of that, we're human beings. We're not just human doings. When you get rid of that, then you start to realize, what's the legacy? There's better questions than what do I do? What's the legacy I want to live? What's the impact? So
I love that. So, I mean, let's go there. What is the legacy? When your kids, you have 2 children, when they grow up, what is the legacy, the impact, the change in the world that you will have created in their reality?
I would hate my kids to say one day, Mom made X amount of money. I want them to say things like, Mom bought someone a car. Mom bought someone a plane ticket. Mom paid off someone's debt. I want them to see that continually.
Oh, you said something really beautiful. It's about building a bigger table.
Yeah, don't build a bigger house, build a bigger table. What do we do when we get more money usually?
Yeah.
We build a bigger house. Yeah, I have these evenings at my house once a month, every Thursday. We call them Lighthouse, and we open the door and any women from anywhere can come in, and we just create a space where we just share and encourage each other, and that's more my life work.
Oh, God, I love this. The thing that really got me when you were just sharing that, and when we were talking from the beginning, is for me, the ethos behind the Powerhouse Alliance overall, the diaries, this podcast, the community, everything we do is about supporting each other and being a network, that mycelium network, that root system of the forest. And I think in today's world of, nuclear families and competition and scarcity and lack and fear, that collaboration and actually sharing is the biggest act of rebellion.
Yeah, it is. I don't want to win against any other PR agency. I want my clients to win. That's the only winning that I want to do.
Yeah, so tell me, where did this, because PR is storytelling. And it's funny because you said when we spoke before, I don't call it PR, I call it storytelling. And I'm like, that is funny because
PR has a bad rep.
Exactly. Yeah. But besides the fact that PR has a bad rep, which, doesn't come out of nowhere. When I started my agency, I was like, PR and marketing, because no one understood storytelling. And then I was like, actually, I don't really care if they understand it. Then they're not my people. And I was like, we're a storytelling agency. And I have never heard anyone else call it that. And here you are, you're like, it's storytelling. So tell me, where did your love and the importance of storytelling for you got ignited?
Look, my parents were diplomats, and I was about 8 years old when my dad ran the referendum, which was a vote by South Africa to ensure that all voices became equal. And I remember my mom stole one of the ballots, and we were standing in the garage, and I said to her, "This is just a piece of paper. Why did you take it?" And she said to me, "Listen." And they sat me down and they told me about all voices being equal and how important it was. And then I think I became obsessed with those quiet voices. I remember at 18, I wrote to the local newspaper and I said, I want to tell a story about an AIDS hospice that I've been to. And it's a place where people go to die. They were running out of funding, doing incredible work. These are the poorest of the poor. They don't even have, relatives don't have enough money to come and visit them. And I'd spent an afternoon there. Anyway, I said, I want to tell this story. And the editor said, you can't tell it as a white woman. You'll have to tell it under a pseudonym. I said, you can call me whatever you want to call me. So I chose a name. And we told the story, and they got their biggest donation that they'd ever gotten. And that's when it clicked for me, that stories, the thing that I could do, I couldn't bail them out, but I could tell their story.
Yeah.
And there's this proverb that talks about being a voice for those without a voice. I think we should go one step further and give people a voice and train them to speak and talk to them about why they need to tell their story and the power and the change that comes from that.
Exactly. Case in point.
I was not
Except for
comfortable.
me.
For the record, I did not want to tell my story. I was fighting against it, and I recommended 3 other people in one sentence to be on this podcast. And you said I don't want that person or that one or that one.
And then just, just for reference, I was still setting up when Jody came in, and she's like, can I see the questions? Can I see the questions? Like trying to, I'm like, no, like this is the role reversal. It's because it's always
it's
you.
payback for all the clients I've told to be bold and push through.
Well, you know what? Let's reframe that. It's payback. It's, this story is so important. Your story is so important. It's a story of such resilience, of such faith, and just keeping going, and not doing it from a space of look at me, or at least not anymore.
And I think a story isn't a pedestal. A lot of us, we get it wrong. When someone asks us to tell our story, we can think, don't put me on a pedestal, but it's just a platform. It's only a platform. And I think we get so afraid of telling a story, not because it's less about, are people going to believe me and love me? It's, do I believe and love myself? And we need to answer that question very publicly, is where I landed, so that we give others the courage to do the same, right?
Well, I mean, and that is literally why we're here.
Yes.
That is literally my whole being, specifically with the podcast and the Powerhouse Diaries brand overall. So whether it's a written article or a podcast episode, because you also said, and I hope you don't mind me saying, you're like, oh, but those people that were on your podcast, they have multi-million-dollar businesses and exits,
and
like
billions of dollars of, whatever it is.
Exactly. And since when is that the true measure of success?
I think everyone's got something that they believe at their core, and that's your story, not necessarily the doing.
Yeah.
It's what do you believe?
And I think also everyone has a unique gift. And that doesn't mean you need to be incredibly, in the traditional sense, gifted at, painting or writing. No. It's the gift, your energy.
Yes, you have something that the world needs.
Yeah. Absolutely.
People always say, if I don't know whether I can start a business, I don't know what I do. I say, you do. Ask the people around you. You have something in you that the world needs. Everyone does. And when we start to dream, when we give ourselves permission to think about what we might do and might it pay for our future, we start to see that there are answers there.
And I'll take it one step further. And I shared this with you. One of my coaches back in the day shared this with me when I was hesitant to share my story. It was about social media. I made up every excuse in the book not to do it. I'm kind of like someone I know.
I thought about, can I break my ankle on the way here?
That's a bit much.
COVID, COVID's an old excuse,
though. I love your shoes. God, we need a photo of the shoes later.
Life is too short for black jackets and black shoes.
I love that. I got given earrings, guys, and you just felt into it. They matched my outfit. Thank you for those. But I'm going back. I'll take it one step further about everyone has something to share, especially in a culture, and I hope no one gets offended listening, but we all know that specifically in Kiwi culture, there is quite a bit of tall poppy culture or thinking. I always call it like tall puppy, like it's like a tall dog. I find it really hard to pronounce that, tall poppy. But you get the gist, you know what I'm talking about. And so once upon a time when I was whinging to my coach about, not wanting to show up, they asked me, Yaela, do you believe that what you do has the potential to positively impact one person out of the 8 billion walking this planet? Like your service, your product, your offer, your story, your post. A simple thing as a social media post can have someone feel seen or like less alone. Yes. Or do you feel that one person can positively benefit from whatever you're sharing or creating or selling? I said, yeah. And he's like, well, then it's not optional. Then it's your fucking obligation to get over yourself.
Yes. And I've told so many people, more women than men, overwhelmingly more women than men struggle with this. And I've told them, a rising tide lifts all boats. By dimming your light, by playing small, all you're doing is you're teaching other people to do the same.
Exactly.
And when you look at it like that, you know, you've got to put these excuses aside.
God, you should be the spokeswoman for the Powerhouse Alliance. We ride at dawn, bitches. We ride at dawn. But that is so important. But I'd love to hear your experience of the slight discomfort at the role reversal. Because it's something you coach your clients through all the time. And now you've kind of had that lived experience of being in the seat and having the spotlight literally on you.
It's horrible.
So no, but like I'm curious, because how has that kind of changed, or have you coached yourself through the same way you coach your clients? And what would you?
Yeah, I have.
What would you tell them and yourself?
I did. So when we do media training, we actually don't point a camera in someone's face and then look at them and tell them what they're doing wrong. We work on what is that thing that you know to be true, and how can you show up as the most genuine version of yourself, because you're never going to be able to practice all the answers properly. You're never going to be able to be 100% polished. But when you know who you are, you know your story, that's the most powerful way you can show up. So I did a bit of thinking and I went, you know, who do I want to show up as? And that made it a lot easier.
Yeah,
because I couldn't steal your cue cards. I tried.
She really did. She really did. I literally, right before we started recording, had to go to the bathroom downstairs, and I had
my eye on those cue cards.
And I took him out of the room and put him over there. And then I almost walked back to take them to the toilet with me. And I'm like, what am I doing? Also, fun fact, which the people listening that listen to more episodes will know, is that 9 out of 10 times I prepare all these questions.
You go off script, which is why you can practice and you can practice. But it's more about knowing what you show up as, who you show up as, what you have to give.
Exactly.
It makes it a heck of a lot easier to answer any media question. I start every client meeting with, who are you? And people go, oh, well, this is what the product is all about. And I go, that's not the question. I didn't ask you what the product does. I said, who are you?
It's so funny because I have that very same conversation also in coaching sessions where I ask, okay, what's present for you right now, or what's present for you today? And someone starts telling me, you know, what happened in their business and how busy their week has been and how whatever their children. And I'm like, love that. Great story. What was the question? The question is, how are you?
Yeah.
What's here for you right now? And they're like, oh, and it's funny how we naturally, I think more as women than as men.
Oh, 100%.
Just completely erase ourselves.
Yep. We show up. We're obsessed with showing up as what other people want us to show up as, not what we are. And that's why we don't do traditional media training, because I don't want my client ever to feel like they have to show up as what they should be. They need to show up as who they are.
Yeah. And that is such a powerful, you were telling me a story about someone suggesting a Zoom filter. And I know we're sitting here and we got dressed up. I know guys like,
yes,
we didn't wake up
I
like
have
this.
mascara on, but I do a lot of lecturing and I have a lot of marketing students that I'm on calls with. And when the lecturer prior to me did a handover, she reminded me that, and it was done with the best intention, that Zoom has a makeup filter. And I remember thinking, that's great. But you know what? I'm going to force myself never to find it.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm not a girly girl, so I'm either kind of on or off. Either I am recording, so like I'll do my hair and I do my thing and I look cute. I mean, I clean up nice. But most days I'm in my yoga pants, no makeup, and just like my hair all over the place. And I'm very, very happy and comfortable with that. And I remember my partner back in the day, because we both have our own businesses, so both often work from home. And early on in the relationship, I'd be like, oh, I have a client call in 5 minutes. And he's like, oh, do you quickly need to get dressed? I'm like, no. It was like after the gym. I was still in my sweaty gym clothes. And I'm like, no.
I tell my clients, you get one meeting where I look really good. Don't get used to it, because I'm going to come with my pink mom hat after my run to our next meeting.
Exactly.
Because you're not hiring someone who's polished. You're hiring someone who cares.
Yeah. Oh, my God. You're hiring someone who cares. But I think also people buy from people.
People buy from people. That is on the front cover. That should be on the front cover of every offering.
Because people are like, oh, so my business, we sell these little fake gold microphones. Look at this. And they're gold and they're this.
And they think that the product is the story.
And that people care. Because the thing is, yes, there are some innovations, especially in like the crypto SaaS world, that are very temporarily, truly unique in its offering.
And even that, they're unique because of what they unlock and because of what they enable and because of what they mean to the user.
Yeah, and the thing is that...
Not because of the code.
It's true. It's just zeros and ones, people.
Don't tell that to the hundreds of tech companies out there.
It's just zeros and ones.
I have to convince them one by one that your product is not the story.
I know, but it's confronting. It's confronting, and again, a rebellion in a world that is designed to disconnect us from our truth, from ourselves, from each other, from nature, from all those things that the material world is like sacred, and it's about things we can touch and see and make money with. So it's such a paradigm shift to tell people, actually, the way you make money, or more importantly, make impact, which inevitably is followed by income, or vice versa. But if you focus on impact, the money will follow. Yeah. But that's such a paradigm shift and such an act of rebellion in a world that teaches you the exact opposite.
Numbers that you're features and,
Yeah.
Yeah. And stories are sticky. There's actually science behind it. They have like these little hooks, like these little tentacles. Ooh. When you tell people a story, it hooks, it sticks in their brain. Yeah. It's hard to forget.
I do believe we are storytelling beings. And it actually comes from this really primal time of us sitting around a fire, sharing stories, being like, hey, there's a saber-toothed tiger over there, or hey, don't eat those berries.
It was key to survival.
Exactly.
And creation of groups, and there was safety in numbers, and we all had a group story.
Exactly. And we're
wired for stories.
Exactly. And that's why it sticks.
There is an incredible TED Talk by a man called Yuri, and they switch the lights off and they have their audience in the dark and they're measuring their brain waves, and they actually record when they're just talking. They record the brainwaves, and the brainwaves do nothing. They're all kind of different. Then they start telling the audience a story, and those brainwaves start syncing, all of them, across the audience. It's almost like a way to transmit what's in my brain to yours.
Oh, I love that. We'll find the URL to that and put it in the show notes somewhere for you guys to watch, and I want to watch that. But let's go back a little bit to what we were just talking about, the world and business. The traditional way of doing business is very different. The traditional business model of a PR agency is very different. Tell me about how you've built Launch PR, how that is different, because I love it so much. It's so sexy.
I have started a PR agency for people who don't necessarily love PR agencies.
So
I've been on both sides of the desk. I've had to hire PR agencies, and I've said goodbye to a lot of money. And I realized that results are hard to get, but I've said goodbye to a lot of money and haven't got a lot of results. So our model is very different. You do not pay a 50% deposit, and you do not pay a retainer. The only time that you start paying is when we get you results. It's when I send you a headline. It's when I send you coverage. And we say no a lot. That's what makes us different. I don't want to be known for doing the most work, only the best work. And I'll say no if I don't think you have a story that's ready for media. And I know that you'll come back when you do.
Yeah.
So what we do is we get stories up in headlights.
That's amazing.
We don't send productivity reports. We don't quantify. To me, you can quantify all day long. You can ask your data analyst to go and check how many people read the story. But when you come to me and say, we 4x'd our users in 2 weeks, or it's blowing up. I've had clients say, we've had I can't tell you how many signups. We've had to spin up more servers. That's when I know it's working.
I know.
You don't need a productivity report from me. No. So we've just built an agency, and it's simple. It's tell your story, be heard. And when we've done that, then we'll bill you.
It's based on integrity, and also it's ballsy because you are.
We back ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love working with founders, and I love working with their teams, and we look for the gold. And when we found that, we can weave it into an incredible story. I don't outsource that. A lot of times also I would meet the PR agency boss and I think they're amazing, but you know what I'd be left working with?
Yeah,
the
someone
junior.
very different.
I will outsource website, I'll outsource finance, I'll outsource everything, but I will never outsource your story if you hire me, because it's your story. I want to work on that.
That's amazing. And tell me how, because you were just sharing how you had this big corporate job. It didn't look very big from the COVID with a 2-meter office, but big corporate job, restructures, and had that wake up call of actually no, this is not for me. But then there's that tension between
starting to pay the bills.
Yeah, exactly, and just having come out the other end or nearing the other end of the bathing kids in bathtub chapter and dividing all your assets by 10, moving here, just starting to rebuild that, and then deciding not just to start your own company, but to start your own company with a business model that does not give you any guaranteed income.
It was so different though that we were fully booked from day one. And I remember my first client, because I'm working with him on another launch right now. It was Aaron Ward from Ask Nicely. So we worked with him, and the incredible thing is one client became 2, those 2 became 4, those 4 became 8, and it was so different that people would lean forward in their seat. I worked with Spark at one stage, and it was the head of procurement on the line, and I told them that they weren't going to sign a retainer, and they said, but do you have a contract for us? And I said, no. And they said, but can you make one? I said, I could probably make one up. I won't get legal to check it though, because I don't do contracts. And by the end of the call, they were saying, we want results. You're not going to make us sign, but you're going to send us coverage. I said, that's it. And when people heard that, it was brand new. I think it still is, and it's working. We've been fully booked for 5 years.
I believe the way to go in any business, but especially service-based, especially in a business that has been so hyper-inflated with bullshit, like you say, these vanity metrics, dashboards full of graphs of potential reach,
and they don't translate into what you need, which is followers and customers.
Yeah. And how do you, because I hear you when you say I don't outsource a story, and clearly you are an incredibly gifted storyteller, but how do you marry the world of PR, which can be spin doctors and fluff, and knowing that you only get paid when you get results. Now, obviously, when business is good, that's, you know, an easy trade-off to say no to certain things. But I can imagine there were times where that was a riskier endeavor. How do you walk that tightrope?
It has to be true for me to want to work on it. I've always stuck to my guns on that. And I have 4 or 5 criteria. I've got to be excited about it. It has got to be, I only work in crypto, SaaS, AI, in the sticky, difficult arena that no one wants to work with. I enjoy that.
Why would no one want to work with that? Those are the most exciting topics.
Everyone wants to do lipstick PR, I call it, fluffy PR. And I actually found that because I chose a niche and because I picked a niche, it was easier to get clients because, first of all, there's not a lot of PR agencies in that space. Some of the big ones still send me their clients and go, this is too technical. There are too many acronyms. And second of all, there was no one else who would back what they say and deliver or no payment.
Yeah.
So we've never had a problem.
It's so funny. When I launched my agency, I said I'm a hospitality storytelling agency, and people said that it's not a thing. Hospo doesn't pay.
But it was a problem and you were solving it.
Because I came from Hospo and I hired PR agencies and they were lipstick PR agencies.
And they didn't understand.
And I was frustrated and I was spending, it wasn't even my money. And I was like, it was just so frustrating. And that's why. And it wasn't a thing. And people were
deliver value and you have a business.
Right. Yeah, and actual especially in PR, know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have to be able to code or to be the crypto trading genius.
No,
but you have to
be able to explain it.
Yeah, and understand and care.
Yeah, and quite a lot of times I'm the bouncer for my clients. I've gone to NZ Herald before and said I'm tired of seeing the same voices by the front cover. Discount it 40% for me. And guess what? Sometimes they say yes.
You basically democratized the front page of the New Zealand Herald.
Yes, and when we do a newswire send out, we do not put a markup on it. And I've been asked, why not? You know, I send the client the payment link. They pay for my time. They pay me to write the story, but they shouldn't have to just have a 20% on the top of a button that I push, right?
It's, you know what? I think it's the most outrageously genius business strategy. And that makes it sound calculated, which I know it's not. It comes from heart. But people will always come back because it's a business model built on integrity.
And they do, because not everyone has thousands every month, but they have a couple of thousand every year. And I'm most proud and it's most rewarding when people come back. I love it. When they come back a second, third, and fourth time, that's when I know I'm doing my job.
And word of mouth.
We haven't had to advertise. It's been amazing.
That's for me the best thing. I'm like,
amazing.
People don't know half the stuff I do because it just, word of mouth.
They start to become your storytellers, don't they?
Exactly. Until someone forces them you into the chair.
I wish they hadn't, in this case, said my name in rooms I wasn't in.
I love it, but in a very, very positive context. And what I would love, because we've talked about the importance of storytelling, and you've just shared, this is your niche, this is what you work on. But I'm sure, because we have an audience of female founders all over the world. Most of us are in New Zealand, Australia, big group in the Netherlands for some strange reason, but everywhere. And in all walks of life, all business stages, from solopreneurs to multi-million-dollar businesses in all industries. So I would love it if we could give them some genius, some framework, some advice where that they can take and actually start crafting their story, and maybe even a little bit on how to pitch that, because you mentioned something about giving away journalist details, which traditionally you're like that was like the pot of gold, like no one look at it. So to someone who cannot work with you for whatever reason, but let's go for just a different niche. What framework can you teach them that they can implement and change their lives and businesses, and more importantly, the lives of the people their businesses or services or products are changing?
And it's a good question, right? So I think most people in a business will jump to a conversion story where I'm desperate to get you as a customer, and I start talking features and I start talking pricing. But there's another story, and that's the connection story. And people can replicate, if you think about it, people can replicate your brand, they can replicate your product, they can probably replicate your brand colors, but they cannot replicate your origin story or what you do for customers and why. So I tell people, focus on your connection story. And there's so many frameworks out there. I mean, you can Google, how do you tell a story? And millions of results will come up. I keep it super simple. And I've flown around the world teaching the same framework. And no one forgets their first car. And that's the acronym that I use. It is simple. It is challenge, action, result. What did you face? What's the problem that you faced? What was wrong with the world that caused you to step out and create something that makes it different? Action. What action did you take? What is the thing that made all the difference? That can be your product. And then, of course, the result, what changed.
Yeah.
And it's literally that simple.
Oh, what's so beautiful about it is that you hear all these gurus online.
And they'll sell it to you for $70,000.
Oh, yeah. Or even worse, they'll just template something that you just kind of like insert your name and thing in, that is so generic, like lacks any soul, any heart, any authenticity and feeling, that will never, because we're energetic beings.
Yes.
No matter whether we are like face to face connecting or reading a story, you feel an energy, and that is felt so much faster and louder than any words you can ever write or read or speak.
I mean, stories do what talking about your product doesn't. They invoke emotion. Emotion invokes action. They can describe a problem, not just a solution.
Right. And I think a lot of these gurus, they preach transformation stories. You're like, I will take you, or this will take you from A to B. Where your car acronym, I think, is genius, because it comes from, and that's actually how most businesses, if not all, are born.
You can use it for your origin story. You can use it on stage. It's super simple, but it's worked for me.
Yeah,
for
beautiful.
Years.
And then, okay, so let's say they do that. They haven't forgotten their first car. They've kind of gotten clear on the challenge, the action, the results, and that, by the way, I think, regardless of PR, a really important set of questions to journal on and to ponder and to sit with.
What's my challenge?
Yeah.
What action am I going to take?
Exactly. And what am I, where did that come from? And and maybe that changed.
The modern newsroom is about one thing. How many clicks has my story gotten? People sit in a newsroom nowadays with their editor, and the editor will pull up the stories, and it's all about how many people read that story. So you've got to then get into the mindset of a journalist, and you've got to find that angle that will appeal to the most people, and that's what you go in with. It is, what's in it for me? You got to think about the audience.
That's what everyone, like, it's natural. It's not a bad thing. Everyone always thinks, why is this relevant to me?
So if you can understand that one thing, the people reading it are important to the journalist, they need to get people reading their stories. If you can understand that, you know what to pitch.
Genius.
It's very simple.
Yeah, you think, but then you also mentioned that sometimes you need to mother your clients a little bit.
Oh, that's when you pitch up for the interview. That's a whole different conversation. And we can, I can tell you some things, but...
Oh, tell me the things. We are here for the things.
Oh, I had a celebrity client. I won't mention their name because they've been in the news a lot lately. And they were on TV. It was recorded on the laptop, and they got up and they hadn't bothered to put a belt on, so their pants were falling down. And I've actually built into my media deck now, please wear a belt. Besides, get a haircut, brush your teeth, comb your hair. Be grateful. Be grateful. The journalist is taking time. They've noticed you. Be grateful. Connect with them. Praise their work. Go and read what they're writing about. And that's the beauty of pitching as well. So many agencies will send out to a list. The journalist will perhaps have changed niche. Perhaps they didn't write about that last week. Someone else has taken over that beat. You've got to do homework. I do not ever send out a media release, spray and pray. We spend a lot of time personalizing every single pitch, and we share our pitches with our client. A lot of times people will gatekeep their pitch. They will gatekeep how they work with the media, and I want everyone to know. Ideally, I wouldn't be needed, but there's enough businesses that need to be taught that I'm pretty confident will be busy.
Yeah, and also beyond need to be taught. Like you said, listen, I'll outsource my website, I'll outsource this, but this is the part I'll never outsource. The clients, even if they don't need to be taught, their genius lies elsewhere. So how great to have someone do that, for you. So yes, I think that is really important, the research. So we have a way, I actually don't know if all of you guys know this, but everyone can apply to be on this podcast. I'll put the link in, but it's something...
I didn't apply, for the record. I was frog marched.
She pitched herself 10 times. we were like, at one point, I had to drag her in here screaming and fighting. And now you know why, because it's really important. So we have a way where everyone can pitch, because I believe it is so important. I want to tell all the stories that are important, all the impact-driven stories. And we can't have everyone on the podcast, but we also have a written medium. So there's so many ways to tell your stories. So we tell them to pitch and apply to be on the podcast. And one of the questions that we started out, like, all the questions are kind of, you can answer, you cannot answer, pitch it in any way you like, but we made it a mandatory one. It's like, tell me what your favorite episode was and why.
Yes.
And I cannot tell you how many people applied for this. This is an expensive hobby, guys, and I do it with so much love, but applied and like, I couldn't be fucked to actually listen to the podcast, but I want to be on there. I want you to invest your time, your money, your energy in my story and in me, but I can't.
And how can you pitch if you don't understand?
Exactly. If you don't understand what this is about. So that being, and not just from a strategic point of view, but actually caring and being like, and selective in where you want your story told, because I am a believer, that age-old saying, there's no such thing as bad PR.
Oh, you get bad PR. Let me tell you get bad PR.
Yeah, I really believe that. And there's bad PR, and there's just a misalignment with certain platforms. You
got to tap into the platforms where people are looking who you want to see you.
Yeah, exactly. And where your values are aligned. I've had pre-calls with people for this where I'm like, hey, this is not for everyone, because we don't do the shiny marketing, everything is great. I want to hear the real stories, because that's what's relatable. That's what's gonna make me not sit at home and feel like I'm less than, and this is only something Jody can achieve. So it's not for everyone. If you want to tell a story about how amazing you are, period, then this is not
And
your
how
platform.
boring. I want to know what you fought for and won. I want to know.
And
what,
how did you get out? Because
Yeah.
we all our shit stinks, people. Like
Yes.
everyone has their dark nights of the soul, their moments where they want to give up. Who did you become in the process? Which versions of yourself did you have to let go of?
And you would be surprised how many people haven't answered that question for themselves, which is why they find it hard to put themselves forward, because
Yeah.
they don't want to do the work. They want a neat, clean solution. And then what do they default to? They default to the conversion story, because the connection story is too hard. It's too difficult. You're making me look inside.
Yeah.
People don't want to do it. But those that do it, there is such power in that.
Yeah. And it was funny. So because I'm also a coach and I love like deep and meaningfuls, for all my guests, create this list of journal prompts.
Those were
And
scary.
I
almost deleted them and said, that's too deep.
those are,
You're going down my throat into my heart. You know?
Well, and I was like, I warned them. I said, listen, it's optional, and these won't be the interview questions, and they
You
are.
didn't tell me that part. I thought you were going to ask that.
Oh, I have the transcript of the conversation. I did tell you that because it's very personal. That's why they're journal prompts. It's for yourself. It's for a stream of consciousness, but it's because again, in this world where we're disconnected, it's so powerful to actually take that moment and reflect and have some introspection. And actually, guys, I'll do something. DM me on Instagram or email us on letsplay@powerhousediaries.com or Instagram is at Powerhouse Diaries. Shocking. If you DM me journal prompts, I'll send them to you. Because
And they're incredible, because they totally skip past what do you do? What do you own? How much have you made? All the boring stuff. They go straight to who are you and why.
And I think if you do those for yourself, get a nice journal, have a cup of tea or a glass of wine, whatever, pick your poison.
Bubbles.
Oh, yeah. Is it too early? No. And answer those for yourself. And with that, apply Jody's car framework. I think you're unstoppable. Your story will be cannot be missed.
Yeah. And it deserves to be heard. Tell your story, be heard.
Yes. Wrapping it up with something lighter. What are the most common PR mistakes or faux pas that you see happening and that should die tomorrow or yesterday?
I think we've already talked about it, but it's sending out a press release on a feature or a piece of code or a description of your product. That's not the story. I've worked deeply in award entries as well and pitching for the high-tech awards. And you'd be so surprised how many founders I get on the line and I say, let's talk about this entry. I mean, it is PR, right? You're writing a PR story for this entry, and they dive into their unique selling points. And I think if I could implore people not to make that mistake, what does your product do for people? How does it unlock something for them? What does it change for them? How does it make the world a better place? And I think if people could fix that about what they go into the world and try and sell, they'd have a lot more success.
I am just reminded in my old pitch deck, for clients, when I had an agency, right? I had a presentation and obviously I would customize it for the client, but there were a couple of key slides that just explained who we were as an agency. And one of them had a picture of a row of forks, and one was completely bent out of shape and the rest were all just regular forks, and it just said, just because you're unique doesn't mean you're useful. And I think from that moment on, I replaced USP with useful selling points. What do you bring to the world? Instead, what makes you unique? Because just because you're unique doesn't mean you're useful. And I live by that.
How true is that?
Yeah, it's a really big one.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a PR mistake that needs to die. Absolutely. Fun last thing.
I'm worried. What are you gonna ask me?
No. It's a bit of a more of a rapid fire.
Okay, I'm ready.
Rapid fire. Wait, I'm not ready because I'm holding the mic and I can't hold the cards at the same time. Okay. What's the most unhinged PR idea you've ever said yes to or come up with?
I have acted in a lot of YouTube product videos because there just wasn't any talent, including walking ankle deep in the Northern Territory where there were like 7-foot crocs because we needed this incredible zoom out shot and the drone footage. So almost being eaten by a crocodile.
I mean, I feel that's pretty unhinged.
Not a good idea.
What's the one thing everyone overlooks when they're trying to get noticed?
That they need to be human. They need to be themselves, not something else.
What does success look like to you right now?
Not what I'm able to get, what I'm able to give.
Ooh, that is beautiful. I have a thing. I call it the most fabulous fuck up. And it is one of those things that in the moment felt like the worst thing that could happen. Like, what a fuck up. How could I have done that? And in hindsight, as it always does.
I mean, we all make mistakes, especially in comms teams. I had a saying with most of the teams that I've led, and it's, did anyone die? And then I would make the person who made the mistake say no, because I've been on the other end of making the mistake. You know, I've sent an email out that was addressed not by first name, but last. And I've had people reply and go, you know, people with army trauma, I'm not in the army anymore. You're calling me by my last name. And it felt awful at the time. But did anyone die? No.
Yeah. And that's so important to create a culture within your business where it's okay to fuck up. And by the way, that's not just in your business. That's what I try to do as a parent as well. I always, like, for me, with my children, it's about accountability and ownership and what are we going to do about it. Yeah. Not about being afraid that you fucked up. Yeah. I said, we all fuck up.
And it becomes a flaw. I tell my kids, fail, it just becomes a flaw. You move up.
Yeah. And fail, you know, like that's
learn.
Okay. Learn from it.
Is it fail or is it learn?
Exactly.
You know, I have an inner voice that always tells me, what if you can't do it? I'm going to have to experiment to see what if I could.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the, you know, the fear or faith or fear or hope choice you make every single day. Is there any question you want to ask me?
I would love to know, because you spoke a lot about being a trauma coach and what people believe about themselves. And I found that fascinating. I would love to know what you had to stop believing about yourself to move forward into a better future.
You stole my fucking journal prompt and turned it back on me. I love that. That's sneaky.
How did you reframe your future, in other words? Because you've got quite a past.
I think my biggest shift, which is going to sound weird, because I've got quite a past, I've always really held on to the identity of the strong one, the survivor. People, and you'd get compliments, right? You're so resilient, you're so strong, how do you do it? And I mean, anyone who's gone through you know, complex trauma will relate to that. And you know what, they're not wrong. I am strong, I am resilient, not necessarily by choice, but that's it. And I think we all in our lives go through things that you know, you either rise up to, or they crush you, or sometimes both. First they crush you and then you rise up. And I haven't always had another choice but to just keep going, right? As a solo parent, when there's things going on with your children, with no co-parent or family in the hemisphere, yeah, I mean, there is no option to crumble. But what I didn't realize, and identities are a fun thing to work with, guys. It's like identity shifts, because our ego holds on to our identities, the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves.
Yeah, that's right. And they become who we are, but we can unlearn those.
Yes. So what I realized, and this is quite recent and it's quite personal, is that as storytellers, we are storytelling beings. So we tell ourselves stories about how we see the world. And in every good story, like, fiction story, any Disney story, you have the hero, the villain, and the victim. And that is just the story triangle that any story often contains. And I was so attached to that hero role, the strong one. And one day I realized, oh my God, in order to be the hero of my own story, that means I'm also choosing to carry the victim with me, because I can only be the hero if I was the victim. And then I realized, who would I be if I really let that go? And then I didn't need to be the hero. I realized that I kept taking my trauma with me in order to affirm that I was strong and resilient.
Yeah.
And that was the letting go of that identity was fucking brutal, guys.
And I love that, because our past story doesn't have to be our future story. When I came out of that really difficult period, I realized I was living in brace position, and I was like waiting for the next thing to go wrong. And
and like the roof, and then it would,
but I had to then let go of that and expect good things, and I had to write a new story where I wasn't looking at the past for clues.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what holds a lot of people back.
Not looking at the past for clues. I always say, success leaves clues. So look at areas in your life where you've had great success. That doesn't have to be, if we're talking about business, it doesn't have to be business related, work related. It could be a great friend, a great partner, a great athlete, a great crocheter, whatever. But what you can do in one area of your life, you can extrapolate and do somewhere else. Success leaves clues, and stop looking at the past for clues. I love that.
You are awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're doing an amazing job.
Thank
You're
you
shining
so
a
much.
light on things that, people and things that need to be illuminated.
Well, right back at you.
Can I finish now and get out of these
Yes,
lights? This is it. You did it. Can I go back to putting people on stage and not being on stage?
You can unclench.
It's like blink twice if you're not okay.
Exactly. Someone come save Jody. Someone. You're free. You're free to go, with or without Stockholm syndrome. But thank you so much.